According to KernVote.com, just over 16,000 people are registered to vote in the city of Ridgecrest. And coming up in the mayor's race in November, those people are going to be able to choose from 4 candidates that are running for the seat. Those include Eric Bruin, who has lived in Ridgecrest for 16 years and is the CEO of Desert Valley's Federal Credit Union. Then there's Lindsay Stevens, who has lived in Ridgecrest for 8 years and is a stay-at-home mom and currently serves on the Ridgecrest City Council as Mayor Pro Tem. Then there's Christian West, who grew up in Ridgecrest and is a machinist at China Lake Naval Base. Finally, Thomas Wicknick has lived in Ridgecrest since 1979, and he formerly served on the Ridgecrest City Council and runs the gun shop Guns for Us and owns KZGN TV. I spoke with each of the candidates, asking them all the same handful of questions in an attempt to get to know them and their platform. I started by asking them to explain their platform in just one sentence.
To remove divisiveness and bring unity back to our community.
For the people, by the people.
I'm an open ear for the community, and I want to bring community involvement.
What I'm actually asking for is a more open city council to the hearing from the people, to listening to the people, for transparency, to stop behind the closed doors meetings, and to really time to actually listen to the people.
What qualifies you to be mayor?
Really, I don't see there's a certain amount of qualifications to be a mayor. I just, it's the face of the community. You're on the council, you get a say basically versus no say. So I don't really see qualifications. I just think that I've lived here my whole life. I know the community. I know what the community needs and what it doesn't need. So I think I would be a great candidate for that.
First of all, I have a lot of city experience. I'm a former planning commissioner in Ridgecrest. I'm a city councilman. I was a vice mayor. Along with that, I've served on numerous city and county committees. And I believe that the mayor position is only a 2-year position. So if you don't start with the city experience, you're going to have a long time coming up to speed.
I have a wealth of business experience in branding and strategy, which I think is going to be extraordinarily helpful in getting our community in the right direction. And then I've been working in advocacy and in political arenas for the many, many years.
Having my degree in urban planning, when I started first going to city council meetings, I just noticed that I felt like the city, we have a really small staff. And so with my background, I could help come alongside the staff and really supplement our staff and bring new ideas to the table because we have a small budget we're working with.
Will your term be an extension of Peggy BREEDEN'S, or will you take a new direction?
I don't like the term going into a new direction, but I think that we need to just, like I said in my opening statement about openness, there's very little dialogue back and forth between the people. And right now the people are really hurting because of this COVID-19, and they're hurting in many different ways. And I think the city can play a very important role in helping the people and businesses through this time that we're going through right now, which is really serious, and people are really being affected. And by the city council being closed off from the people where you can't talk to them, it hasn't helped. And they're doing actually nothing visible to try and do something.
Like my position on the groundwater agency and which way it's going is vastly different than hers. So on that issue, we would be going separate ways. On other things, we've, agreed and we go the same way.
I think she did great. I wouldn't try to really change anything from what she had done, but I could see the community growing, which would be nice. I don't think the community ever offered the growth that we need or helped out with businesses. Basically, we always held our arms closed instead of open arms with new businesses. So that's the only thing I think I'd really change.
I definitely feel there'll be a new direction as opposed to the same. I think one of the things that I do is I tend to be a lot more swift and active in terms of getting things done and wanting to create greater involvement on different community levels.
What would you like to see in the future regarding the community's response to the pandemic?
Well, I think the city made not a good response to it right from the beginning. I think right from the beginning, the city should have applied to the governor to be evaluated separately from the rest of Kern County. And I mean that for the entire valley. And I mean that as an idea that almost everybody, even if you talk to the county people, you'll find that most expected our numbers to be fairly low, God giving the blessings on Ridgecrest that we would hope. And it has turned out that way. So our numbers have been low. And all we wanted to do, and all I believe we should do, is we should have, right back in February, had an official agenda item on the council agenda to formally vote on asking the governor to vote to consider it separately. They did not do that. Instead, they asked the county to investigate for them, and the county came back and said, no, it's not a good idea. So the council did nothing.
I think the city of Ridgecrest needs to continue to comply with, as the county moves, we move. I don't believe we need to continue the debate whether we could be separated from the county in terms of our statistical. We don't have a public health department, so that makes no sense. We need to follow the guidance that the county gives and continue to work within the best possible guidelines and to get it over with.
Us to be open, for our people to be able to go to work, our children to be able to be in school, families to be able to provide for their families and feel more certain about their future.
Honestly, I would like to see everything open back up. It does suck. I see a lot of businesses going out of business, a lot of businesses struggling. You know, the restaurants have to go outside, so now everybody had to, that was unexpected. They had to close and they had to actually dump a bunch of money into building outside areas. So that's hard, you know, a lot of hardship on families and everything.
What do you believe is the biggest challenge facing Ridgecrest right now?
Our water issue is probably one of the biggest things right now for our community, because that impacts us in so many different ways, right? If we're putting this message out there that we don't have enough water, then we're not going to see growth, right? No, people aren't going to be investing in a community if we're saying we don't have water.
Definitely the water. I think the IWVGA kind of tore the whole city apart. Half of them are for it, half of them aren't. Nobody knows a set dollar amount on what they're going to pay. Nobody's sure of anything, really, it feels like. So everybody's unanswered on everything, so they just want answers. But I think that was a big thing that kind of tore it apart. And right before that happened to be the casino that kind of tore it all apart as well.
I think probably the biggest challenge is creating transparency and communication through the community, because we have different issues. Like somebody could say water, somebody could say economic development, but all these issues start with communication to the public about why these things are moving forward. And we've done a very poor job of communicating that with the community to get the community involved and engaged in positive discussion rather than allowing a handful of voices to lead a negative discussion.
We got three things that are going on. First, we have the bases recovering from the earthquake that we had here. Most of the town fared quite well from the big earthquakes we had, thank God. But the base had a lot of damage, and they're just beginning the major effort of multi-million-dollar projects out there. So a lot of people are coming in to support that. Along with that, we have our COVID response for our community, our business, and the people, which I said a little bit earlier. Next to that is that the city is not doing anything, like I said earlier. And what I'm advocating for is that we have a city town hall. And at this town hall, we invite the base to come in and give us information on what they're doing and what they need from the city to help them progress through their effort to repair from the earthquakes.
How should the community move forward in light of the July 2019 earthquakes?
The big thing is that we have a massive amount of base rebuilding coming in the next 12 months. We know that there's going to be an influx of construction and other things that are going to be done to begin the rebuilding process on the base. And we need to do everything we can as a city to support that mission and support getting that accomplished, because it's not only good for our community, but it's necessary to get our base modernized as well as repaired. The secondary is that we need to be prepared. We need to make sure that we are constantly revisiting what we experienced as a community, so that we're doing the community preparation and making sure that the groups like CERT and the police department have the necessary resources to react in those type of situations. They're gonna come again. It's hard preparation that's gonna make sure we're safe.
The city itself went through it very well. And we believe right now the city has some claims in for some cost reimbursement from the state as far as costs that we've incurred because of the earthquake, the damages and stuff like that. One thing I would say though is that I haven't had anybody recently even put out any new numbers about what is the remaining needs of the city. And again, that's why I'm advocating the town hall to find out.
You know, the base, some of those structures obviously were heavily damaged. So they're rebuilding those and, you know, bringing them up to standard. And so I think just kind of making sure we follow those standards, building standards. They're there for a reason, and I think we're lucky in that regard.
As far as the earthquakes go, everybody could just pitch in and help out the best we can to kind of come together as a community and just basically rebuild. I mean, I think the community's already done a very great job on that. I know I worked in Trona and the road was horrible on the way there. It's split in half. It was horrible. So, I mean, the community's doing a great job. Everybody's, I think, stepping up to the plate on that one, and just kind of, as far as the earthquakes go, hopefully it doesn't happen again, but the community's strong. So I think everybody's good on that one.
What else should the community know about you before they cast their vote?
I've been here quite a long time, and I've had my family here. I've got great grandkids. I've got grandkids. They come and go from time to time, but I really care about the community. I've been here since 1979. The joke is I came here for a year and I'm still here. And a lot of people that live here say that same line, because Ridgecrest is a very unique community. It has a lot of great people. And I've always been interested in city government. Like I said before, I was on the planning commission. I was a councilman and a vice mayor before. And now I'm just taking this other next step up to try and offer my services to the community. That's all I care about. I have nothing to gain by this except to try and serve my community.
I'm an open ear for the community. I grew up here. I'd like to see more growth within the community and more activities for families and the youth, basically, because when there's no activities here, like right now, it's really hard for kids to be outdoors and have fun doing stuff. So what do? They're sitting inside on their phones all day, and that's not the way I want to see my kids grow. So I would hate to see a community full of people on their phones all day. So, I mean, that's really it. If anybody has a question or anything like that, they can always stop me and ask me anything they want. I'm always an open ear, like I say.
I'm a family guy. I'm married, got 4 beautiful children. I've been working in the same industry for 20 plus years, and leading our local credit union for the last 16. I'm not in this race because I have a fiscal interest or I have a ego interest. I'm in this because we need leadership that stands up and says, we're going to put forward a good message. We're going to put forward a positive message. We're not going to try and tear things down or take on a negative connotation to every problem. We're going to start looking for solutions, and we're going to build back what Ridgecrest has always been the best about, which is Ridgecrest, when it takes care of itself, is more powerful as a community than people even possibly imagine, because they are a bunch of people that have high educations, good incomes, great quality of life, and when they unite, we can move the world. And I want that type of positive perspective back into our city council. I want to rebuild the trust with the community by communication and get us going in a positive direction. We've spent a decade spinning our wheels and fighting, and we need to put it aside.
A lot of people in the community are familiar with me because I've been on council for the past 4 years, but just knowing that I'm going to continue to do research, bring ideas to the table and see them through, and that I'm always willing to listen and hear the people, make sure that they have a voice that's being heard, and that if they want to know more about me, I have a council Facebook page. They can get in contact with me through there.
Ridgecrest residents can now vote by mail, or they can go to the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd. If you want to keep up with all of 23 ABC's election coverage, you can go to our website, turnto23.com, or be sure to keep up with us on all of our social media platforms. But for now, here in Bakersfield, Austin Westfall, 23 ABC, connecting you.